Hello everyone and welcome to the second lecture of coordinate geometry. In the last lecture we had defined the terms like abscissa, ordinate, and we had also defined a Cartesian plane, and we said that a Cartesian plane is pretty much any plane which has two fixed axes, and generally we take the vertical axis as y-axis and horizontal axis as x-axis, and we said that there was no constraint regarding the choice of axis. You could have taken the horizontal as y and the vertical as x, but that is pretty much what we do in most of the cases. And then we had also said that it must also have a fixed reference point, and we called that reference point an origin. And again we said generally we take this origin to be 0, 0, and you can pretty much shift this origin to any other point on the coordinate axis. And regarding these two terms we had a prolonged discussion. We said that the abscissa, which was the x coordinate, was actually the distance of a point from the y-axis, and I also demonstrated how. And secondly we said that the ordinate, which is the y coordinate, was the distance of a point from the x-axis. So we have pretty much covered the basics. Now it is time that we take our disc forward with the concept of quadrants. Okay, so here I have this Cartesian plane, let's say. Now the Cartesian plane has these axes, and in the last video you have seen that these axes are divided into some fixed demarcations, and the length of two consecutive demarcations between two consecutive demarcations is same. So if this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and if this is 0, so we can always demarcate the y-axis. So it is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and the same applies for these two portions of the line also, the portion and the left one of the line. So but here we have a twist. What do? Is we add a minus sign the demarcations, and we call these the negative coordinates. We put the minus and we call these the negative coordinates. Negative simply means that this is in the bottom direction. Okay, this is in the downward direction, and this is the positive sign means that this is the top coordinate plane. So then you have -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -. So here we have a complete coordinate plane where we have the positive coordinates, the negative coordinates, both. Okay, and also we have the 0, 0, 0, 0. Now if I plot a point in the first quadrant, if I plot a point over here, let me say, over in this portion, if I plot a point, let's say I want to plot this point, then I can see that this point is 3 units away from the y-axis, so it is 3, 4 units away from the x-axis, it is 4. So this point is 3, 4. Now let me plot this point over here. Let me plot this over here. So we can see that this is pretty much 6 units away from the y-axis, but this time towards the left. Therefore, the coordinate of this point is -6, and this is 3 units, some 3 units above the x-axis. So it is 3 units away from the x-axis, but towards the top. Therefore, coordinate is -6, 3. Okay, so adjust with the lines because they are not straight. I am not drawing this diagram to scale. So it is -6, 3. Now let us plot a point over here. So over here you can see that, let's say if I want to plot this point. Okay, so it is 4 units away from the y-axis. It is 4 units away from the y-axis, but towards the left. Okay, therefore its x coordinate is -4, and it is 2 units away from the x-axis, but this time towards the bottom, towards the downward direction. Therefore it is -2. So it is -4, coordinate of this point is -4, right? Now let us come to this portion. Let us say we want to plot this point. So this point is 5 units away from the y-axis and 5 units away from the x-axis also. Okay, but it is but when it is away from the x-axis, it is away towards the bottom direction. It is away towards the downward direction. Okay. Therefore, the x coordinate is -5 and the y coordinate is, therefore the x coordinate is +5 and y coordinate is -5. Why -5? -5 is the distance from the x-axis, and the distance from the x-axis is in downward direction, and +5 is the distance from the y-axis, and the distance from the y-axis is towards the right. Towards the right you have positive, towards the left, distance towards the right is positive, distance towards the left is negative, distance towards the top is positive, and distance towards the left is negative. So this is the ultimate fundamental thing in naming the points. Now what we have done is we have divided the plane into these 4 coordinates. Quadrants. This is the first quadrant, this is the second quadrant, this is the third quadrant, This is the fourth quadrant. Now this is something which has been defined. Now this is something which has been defined. You could not, here you cannot question that why is this the second quadrant, this is the first quadrant, this is the third quadrant, this is the fourth quadrant. These four quadrants have been defined. Quadrant in which both the coordinates of any point are positive is known as the first quadrant. A quadrant in which the x coordinate is negative and the y coordinate is positive is known as the second quadrant. A quadrant in which both the coordinates are negative are known as the third quadrant, and the quadrant in which the x is positive and y is negative is known as the fourth. Okay, this is pretty much the fundamental concept of quadrant, right? So let me give you some points, okay, random points, and try to tell me without plotting these points which quadrants they belong. Okay, so here I have given you 4 points. So please try to guess the coordinates of this point by seeing their coordinates and do not plot them as of yet. Okay, try to guess them without plotting the points. Okay, so now let me try to give you an explanation. Over here you can see the x coordinate is positive, so it is 5 units towards the right, and you can see the y coordinate is negative, so it is 3 units towards the downward direction. So this is pretty much fourth quadrant. Okay, here you can see both the coordinates are negative, so what you do is that you go minus 4 units to the left and minus 4 units down. Then the answer is the third quadrant. I'm also going to show you pictorially. I'm also going to plot these points for you. You have to guess these points without plotting, because that is something which is asked in the examination. Now here again you can see the same thing. There is a minus sign in front of the first coordinate and minus sign in front of the second coordinate. Therefore what you had to do is, it was also the third coordinate. You had to go minus 10 by 3 units to the left and minus 1 by 2 units down. Okay, so it was also in the third quadrant. Now in the last example we have minus root 2 comma 3. Here you have to go minus root 2 in the left direction and 3 units in the positive direction. Then what you have is the second quadrant. Okay, so let me give you a very rough figure of all these points. So the first point was 5 comma 3. So 5 comma minus 3. So this is minus 3 and this is 5. Let's say so this point would lie somewhere over here. 5 units towards the 5 units away from the y-axis in the right direction, and minus 3 units away from down in the downward direction. Okay. Next point was minus 4 comma minus 2. Let's say this one is minus 4 and this one is minus 2. So this point would be somewhere over here. So 4 units away from the y-axis towards the left and minus 2, and 2 units away from the y-axis from the x-axis in the downward direction. So it will be a third quadrant. Then the third point is again minus 10 by 3 and minus half. So minus half would be somewhere over here, and minus 10 by 3. I'm sorry. This is not somewhere. I should plot minus half minus y coordinate. So minus half would be somewhere over here. Very bad point plot. Anyway, and it is minus 3.9, I guess. 3.3. So it should lie somewhere over here, close to minus 3. So minus 3.3. So this point is this. So minus 3.3. So 3.3 units away from the y-axis towards the left and half units away from the x-axis in the bottom in the downward direction. Okay, so let me zoom it for you. So what we have is minus 3.3 units away from the y-axis towards the left and half units away from the x-axis in the downward direction. So the coordinate. So this is the point that you are looking for, right? So that was pretty much the concept of quadrants. It is very easy and it is very simple to understand, and that was pretty much what I wanted to illustrate through this video. In the next video, we are going to talk about the distance formula, and the distance formula is very important because this is something which you have to use very frequently in coordinate geometry, and you have to use that without a second thought. You have to commit the result of distance formula to memory, but don't worry, I am going to give you proof and give you examples to make you understand how the distance formula is derived and how it. Till then, bye bye.